Start us off, Russ.
Okay, it's the time we've all been waiting for. Thanks, Clint. So I want to welcome you. We're excited to have you here, my friends. And this is Clint Betts, our CEO here at Silicon Slopes, and he's here with his good buddy, Jeff Burningham. Did I say that correctly? And it was really cool. I want to introduce you to Jeff a little bit before we jump into him and his book today, because some really cool stuff that I was able to learn about him. He's an entrepreneur, investor, national best-selling author, again, pointing to our book today, the last book written by a human. And then some of the really cool things that I learned about him that I just think is awesome is he has started, run, or been an early investor in over 15 companies in tech and real estate, valued at over $1 billion, lost a challenging race for governor amidst the COVID here in our home state of Utah, and an adjunct professor of entrepreneurship, served on 20-plus boards, and lived in the Middle East and traveled to over 60 countries while earning 2 degrees. So some of the companies you may be familiar with that he's been an early investor on: Spotify, Metatask, Route, Pattern, Pura, Podium. I'm going to say some of these wrong, so I'll skip the ones I know. Neighbor, Entrada, Divvy, MX, Weave, TextBit, Gab, Jump AI, Stance, Lucid. It just keeps going here. So
yeah, let's not list all of them. There's so many.
No, we've got a great opportunity here. That's a good list to get us started. So we're excited to have you here. Please help me give a warm welcome to Jeff and Clint. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ. That was too much, too kind.
That was awesome.
But I appreciate it.
Russ.
Thank you.
Russ is ripped. That
Russ
was my main
is ripped.
takeaway from that. I was like, I want to know Russ's workout routine. Yeah. That's a.
You're looking good, Russ, in that black T-shirt. I agree.
So this is awesome. We actually just had the fireside chat in that conference room. We should have just invited you all in there. So let's dig into this. Where are we in the world, Jeff? You've written this incredible book. Highly recommend everyone read it. Maybe Jeff will sign some copies for you at the end of this. What a wild time. You guys feel this, right? Like the whole world is changing right before our eyes, and Jeff has spent a lot of time thinking about this, writing about this, speaking all over the world, doing television appearances all over the world, being on a lot of major podcasts, so we're lucky to have him here today. Give us where are we? What are we doing?
Clint, it's a great question. Good to be here with you guys. Always love being with Clint. We go way back. Thanks again, Russ, for the nice introduction. Let me just start with 2 thoughts, and I'd like to really make this a conversation. I'm kind of sick of being, the sage on the stage or whatever. I've done like 150 of these the last 6 months since the book came out. And so I'd like to open it up to you guys. Like, let's talk about it. Like, shout out your questions, shout out your thoughts. Let me give 2 overarching thoughts where we're at. Number 1, I think we are at a place where as our machines become more and more intelligent, which is what's happening, we as humans must become more wise. Like, period. So that's the stage we're at. Like, I'm not kidding around with that. Like, our machines are becoming more intelligent at a faster pace than we can even comprehend. But machines can't replace wisdom. It's February 13th, I think. They don't feel love. They don't know grief like we know it, Clint. So these human ideals of wisdom have to keep up. So that's one. So that's one general thought that we could jump off of and talk about. The second thing I'll say is that, as is often the case, either miraculously, gracefully, hilariously, ironically, whatever your ethos or thought about existence and life is, the obstacle here becomes the way, which is often the case, I think. So AI isn't an obstacle that we can't overcome. It's not the enemy, actually. The obstacle becomes the way for us as humans to return to ourselves, to return to the messiness and the beauty that makes human existence count and matter. So it's a paradox. And there's so many things I could say, your first question, but I'll start with those two thoughts.
Well, what's interesting, are any of you using like Claude Code, OpenClaw, Codex, those types of things? Those of us who have some sort of technical background, all that type of stuff, have to be blown away by what you can build now. And the fact that anyone can be an entrepreneur. Like, you can build a lot of these tech companies that you've invested in, and that are, like, you can build them from a technical perspective by yourself. That changes the world just right there, and who knows what else is about to happen, right? And so what is your recommendation for those who are in the room, those who have been in this ecosystem or have been entrepreneurs or in the tech community, on what should they work on? Like, what should you do?
Yeah, hopefully I won't keep saying. I'm going to share two thoughts again to try to like simplify it down. Number one, what we can't do. I've been an adjunct professor at BYU, taught thousands of students entrepreneurship since the governor race, like you said, Russ. And it was a big conversation in the Marriott School. What do we do with AI? Like, do we keep AI out of the classroom? So number one thought, don't pretend like this isn't happening. It doesn't serve anyone to put your head in the sand and say, like, plug your ears and say, as long as I just think AI is not happening, it's not happening. So it is happening. So embrace it. And how can you do that in a beautiful way, and in a way that is focused on human flourishing instead of human division? So that's the number one idea. Number two, focus on the skills that will always stay uniquely human, or should always stay uniquely human. There are people getting married to their chatbots right now. Interesting. We could talk about that or not. I was on national news last night talking about love with AI, which is an interesting topic. But there are some things that should stay and will likely stay uniquely human. And it's wisdom, vulnerability, love. So I actually think these soft human skills become even more critical in the age of AI. Because last point, and there's a lot of good in this and there's bad. Intelligence has become commoditized. And there's some good in that. Like, I've traveled to 60 countries, like Russ said, and I'm a believer that, like, talent is kind of evenly distributed across the globe, but that opportunity is not. So now if you're in a developing country, though, that doesn't have good education, you have the smartest tutor in your pocket. So that's awesome. So intelligence has become commoditized all across the world. There's some good in that. The interesting thing is that can't happen with wisdom. So as intelligence, quote unquote, scales, how do we stay wise? And how do we make sure and ensure, like I said, that AI is focused on human flourishing instead of human division? Because I think that's what we've seen. The almighty algorithm of social media, the first kind of general use experiment with AI, has highlighted our lack of wisdom. And that needs to change in the future if we are to, dare I say, survive. That would be the worst case, and I think that's on the table. But even less than survival, just thrive. We want our children, our grandchildren, to have a better future than we do. In order to do that, we have got to really muster, work on, and become wise.
So we have a microphone. Russ has it. So if you have a question, raise your hand. My last question for you before we open it up is, what inspired you to write the book, and what's the response been?
Yeah, great question. I'll tell a little story, maybe. I would have never written this book, especially in the way that I did, if I didn't feel like compelled that I had to. I lost the governor's race during the pandemic, very public defeat for me. I mean, I was running against two very well-known politicians, John Huntsman Jr. and Spencer Cox. Good people. I was an underdog, but I certainly had a chance until the pandemic hit. And then I had no chance. So I went into the summer of 2020, like many of you probably did, and I had space and time. I was 43 years old. I had space and time for the first time in my life. I had been busy building companies, serving, blah, blah, blah. I had been constantly doing. And I think I even say in the book that I was addicted to doing. And I talk about climbing my little mountain of success, which I had done. And I talk about, Clint, I don't know if you remember this, but I talk about how when I got to the top, there was nothing but a cold, howling wind. There's just void, and more void on top of that. In other words, our external climb, although they can serve a purpose and everyone will take their own route, no doubt, and you'll go there on your own. I'm just here to tell you that the model of success that you think you're chasing, that we think we're chasing, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So this very public defeat, you could call it like an ego death in some ways for myself, led to the writing of this book. I had space and time to think. I dove back into the venture work that I had missed, running a statewide campaign for 18 months. And obviously, there were tons of technologies that were interesting, but the one that far and away stood out was AI. And for me, it wasn't about, although I've made several investments in AI companies since then, it wasn't about gaining wealth or amassing control, although AI can be used to do those things. It was about the existential questions that I think AI is going to cause for a significant portion of the population to ask. Who am I really? What is reality? How is this intelligence, AI, different than my intelligence? And so that started the quest to write this book. And it was a journey. It was very hard. As you know, Clint, the book's very vulnerable, very open. And I viewed it as my little piece of art. It's a piece of art to me. It's my little offering to the divine. And when I say the divine, I'm including all of us, humanity, in that. And the response has been great. It's a national #7 USA Today national bestseller. Been on 5 or 6 lists. Continues to kind of scale up. Again, I've had 150 podcasts, public appearances, TV the last 6 months. People are really interested in this conversation. It's interesting. It felt like it came out August 19th, and it felt like it was a little ahead, which is maybe Clint knows my background. That maybe is a little bit of my trajectory or whatever, a little bit ahead. But it seems like in the new year, in 2026, things have changed. So I started the new year in New York with the New York Times, on Fox News, with a billboard in Times Square. It was nice of them to put that up of the book. So the response has been really good and interesting. And last thing I'll say, I wrote the book to be a conversation starter. And again, it's about these existential questions that I think are coming to humankind based on AI. I think that AI is a cosmic mirror to humanity. It's just a reflection of us. Think of it. AI is all of our data, ingests all of human data, and then how we interact with it, and then it provides a reflection. And a reflection can be a powerful thing if we choose to see it clearly and then pivot or change based on that. I think that transformation and evolution is coming to humanity in a massive way in the next decade or two. And my bet is on a renaissance in human consciousness across the world in the next several decades. And I think AI will be a big part of that. That was long. Hit me with any questions, and/or I want to hear your thoughts. On anything I've said, I want to hear what you think, and/or if I've said something that's confusing to you, how is AI a cosmic mirror? Ask away. Yeah.
Well, first off, this is right up my alley. I'm loving everything you're saying, so thank you.
Thanks.
A couple of thoughts as you mentioned wisdom. I wanted to get your thoughts on a few things. I'll kind of ramble here and just go with whatever kind of calls out to you. Ancient wisdom traditions have been talking about the different centers of knowing for a long time, the knowing of the mind, the knowing of the heart, the knowing of the body. We're taught, we worship the intellect here in the West, and that's all we know. We're not trained in these other ways of knowing. So to me, when I hear you say wisdom, it seems very rooted in the nervous system. I wanted to get your thoughts.
Can I say something on that and then keep going?
Yeah.
Amen. Welcome to your training. The training begins now. I mean, we've been in process, but the heart and body training begins now. And that's because we are embodied. AI, at least for now, is not embodied. And there is so much wisdom in our bodies that we neglect. We hate our bodies. I'm bald like you, nice haircut. Why don't I have sweet hair like Clint? We have the same sweet stash, but we hate our bodies, but there's so much wisdom in our bodies. We are going to be forced to return to the wisdom in our bodies and hearts. Amen. So there's a curriculum to jump into. And you can do that through meditation, hot and cold, practices, which have become very popular, plant medicine. I mean, there's so many different tools that can help that along. But anyways, I just want to say amen to that. And that is the type of wisdom I'm exactly talking about. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. The second question I have and just thoughts on is, I'm not sure if you have a view on the developmental lens through this. I'm kind of a nerd on developmental theory, spiral dynamics, Ken Wilber's work. And you can track all of these developmental milestones that happen in an individual and collectively. And one of those phases is this productivity phase where it's all about doing and achieving. And you mentioned kind of the disillusion on the other side of that. That's a quantifiable stage of human consciousness where all of a sudden that kind of drops away. And it seems like we're entering into a collective upshift in a stage of development that we need to bring on more complexity. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Dude, badass. I love your thoughts. And keep the mic because I want to ask you a question. What is after doing it? What is the next stage? And let me just say one thing while you think about that. We're not human doings. Now, we've all grown up in a culture where we've absorbed that in almost every way. Through faith traditions, through our country, through our economic system. And by the way, not all of that is bad. So much of what I just said is good. Yep. However, it is, heavily focused on doing. And the lie that is in this, the truth that's about to be felt by a lot of humans, in my opinion, we do more because we think in doing, we can be more. But we have it all already inside of us. So we are not human doings. We are human beings. So what do you do in a world when a machine is better than you at doing so much of what you've been used to doing? That's an ego death. That's a punch in the face, a punch in the gut, a shock to the system, whatever you want to say. And what I'm encouraging humanity to do, what I'm encouraging Silicon Slopes here to do, is to return to your being. Because it's actually, what we're all looking for is actually right here with us. And we've forgotten that. We've outsourced it. And I think, unfortunately, through a lot of pain, we're going to be forced back inside ourselves and to our being. So thoughts on that, and then tell me what's the next stage after this productivity stage?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on the topic. First off, I think that's the existential question you're pointing to. AI is bringing up is we're identified with our jobs. It's who we are. It's the first question we ask when we meet somebody. Oh, what do you do for work? It's that's a bullshit question in my opinion. Who are you? You go to Europe, they don't ask that. They're just living. They want to know who you are. So we're just identified with what we do, that's who we are. And if all of a sudden now, who am I if I'm not my productivity, if I'm not my output? That's a massive existential question. And that's actually why people put their heads in the sand. What you're talking about is because to actually come to terms with that reality, it might be better to just pretend that it's not there. But it's here.
Great point. The number one reason, even if people, this is unconscious, even if people don't understand why you have to ask yourself, why are we, I'm speaking generally as humans or humanity, strangely attracted to AI, yet also terrified of it? It's because of what you just said. We're afraid of the reflection it's going to show us, and then therefore the transformation, the change that will be required of us. Amen. And that's why we're afraid of it. But we can't stop it. It's going to happen. We can do it in an ugly, divisive, destructive way, or we can try to accept what's coming, the transformation and change that's coming, with as much ease, love, and grace as possible, which is what I recommend over and over again in the book. Go ahead, and then let's pass the mic, because I want to hear other thoughts.
I don't want to monopolize the time here, but yeah, the next stage that you were asking about, there's a lot of complexity here. I'll try to break it down simply, but on the other side of this productivity, it's a lot of turning inward. Equality and decentralization kind of becomes a theme both out in the world and in our inner world. And we start to realize that life is just made up of a bunch of perspectives. We're all just taking perspective based on how we were raised, based on all these inputs that we have, our own culture, our own upbringing. And we start to see that, no perspective is complete, and we disidentify with the need to be right. That doesn't mean we don't have a perspective anymore, but I think that's what AI is beckoning us to, is to realize there's just a whole bunch of perspectives. And then on the other side of that, there's a whole other stage where you disidentify from the ego. The ego is no longer the front operating system, and you're more witnessing it. That's more causal awareness and non-duality on top of that. So,
yeah, as we pass the mic, let me say two things. And Patrick, if you can make sure that we hang out with this guy after, and do you mind grabbing me a water, wherever? Two thoughts. We're being forced down the river of consciousness. Clint knows this from reading the book. The book starts on the Ganges River at Varanasi, India. And I talk about this river of consciousness. We're being forced to that. We're being channeled down this river of consciousness. Thank you so much, Dave. And you could say harshly, forced to let go of all our fake identities. Our programmed fake identities are being washed away. That's painful, but it's real, and I think it's necessary for transformation. Number two, there's a chapter in the book about anomalies, and I break out anomalies as institutions, events like the pandemic, and then people. These are pattern breakers. So much of what every single one of us in this room does today is based on an unconscious pattern that we don't even understand or recognize. It's patterning from our programming or conditioning of how we grew up, where, how, what religion, all the things. As soon as we recognize that, we have an opportunity to reprogram or deprogram ourselves. Again, another difference with AI is AI is given a task. Hopefully it sticks to that task. We won't talk about the agentic nature of AI maybe, but it has something to do and it does it. That's kind of how we've been operating. So the slippery slope here is that we don't become machines, that we don't get lost into the machine. Let me just say, and this is sad and will be hard, and our children and grandchildren are facing this, there's a significant portion of the population that in a decade, let's just say, might be kind of almost completely disembodied, just digital, lost into the machine. And so we are here, though, I think, to stay embodied. And so anyways, there's some other thoughts. What other questions, comments? Yeah.
Hi. Well, congratulations on the book, Jeff.
Thank you.
As I always tell people, I'm smarter in Spanish if you don't understand some of my words. I think the great privilege that you've had, traveling to 60 countries and, meeting the people that you have met and learning from mentors and all this knowledge that you have accumulated throughout the years. I remember a long time ago when I worked for Oracle, hearing Larry Ellison and other big tech guys that they will never go into public service. What made you want to go to public service? That was my first question. And the other one is kind of follows along that path. If you did it again, run again, what would you do that is not happening today that will enable not just the AI, but in terms of embracing technology for the better use of wisdom as you're talking about?
Yeah, great questions. I ran because I felt so compelled to inside. And if there's anything that my career maybe shows, it's that I'm going to follow my heart into the scariest places, no matter where it takes me. I remember meeting with Clint here 2 or 3 times in the year leading up to deciding if I was going to run for governor. And a lot of people, my business partners, the CEOs of the boards I were on, like, you know, were like, what in the world? Like, what are you thinking? Are you crazy? You've lost your mind. I was kind of at the, you know, I was at the height and growing my career in major ways. But so what I can tell you is I ran because I felt called to do it. I believe that we are all on a heroic journey, individually and collectively. And the way to get there is to follow our heroic journey. So I felt called to run. And I thought that the issue in Utah still, in my opinion, is growth, because growth leads to all the other problems that we're experiencing. You know, anyways, I don't want to give a political speech here. But so, and I felt like an outsider that had been the first investor in 80% of the tech growth that's happening here in Utah would be a good perspective to have as a governor. So I felt compelled, I felt called. I was an underdog kind of from the beginning because I don't have a political background. Now let me just say one other kind of woo-woo spiritual weird thing, but this is a weird-ass book, guys. I hope you'll pick it up. It's weird, it's interesting. I mean, you've seen, as we've covered a little bit today, a year after I lost, I realized that I had built up this little stage for myself, again, on 20 boards, running all these companies, blah, 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 blah. Running for governor just disintegrated that because I had to get off all the boards. We hired CEOs for our companies. I'm not needed at the venture fund that I started anymore. And it was like a free fall into nothing. And so the reason I ran in hindsight was to disintegrate this little stage that I had built for myself so that I could do what I'm doing now, teaching, writing this weird book, and whatever I'm doing. So it was cleaning my plate, clearing my, my palate to be able to do something new. The only reason I shared that story is to say, you probably won't run for governor. You might do something else. Follow your heroic path. Like, don't be afraid to follow your heart. Secondly, and I'll try to be quick on this one, I think the second question was, how would I implement technology if I ran again? Or clarify the question for me.
What would you do differently to help implement AI and embrace technology especially for education and what we want to achieve as a society?
Yeah, number one, I would, if I knew that the pandemic was coming, I would never run again. Because I played like the first 3 quarters, and literally the most critical months of the campaign were March, April, May, June of 2020. Rudy Gobert shut down the NBA March 6th, I think, or 9th, whenever it was, which shut down the state, there was no chance for a political outsider for me to win. So it's like you were behind in the game, but you definitely could still win it, and the ref just came out and said the game's over, or the rules have completely changed. Everything that we had planned and worked on went away for those last 4 months. So number one, I wouldn't do it. Number two, I would have AI be a focus, no doubt. I think that, and obviously our politicians are ill-equipped, we all are, but our politicians generally are very old, they're very out of touch, they don't understand technology, and I think that AI will become one of the most absolute critical issues in the decade to come. So I would be talking a lot about AI on the campaign trail. I have no plan to run, by the way. I hope that I never run for anything again. Once you've done it, like once is good enough. I feel like I've given my service. I gave it my try. I really don't hope to run, but I think we have to focus on AI. And again, the general concept would be making sure that AI is focused on human flourishing instead of human division and destruction, which again, social media companies, political parties, they're incentivized to divide us. They raise money, they make money when we're divided. But I believe that, I'll just say this, divine oneness is actually much more true for us as humans than any differences we may experience. whatever your socioeconomic status, whatever your faith tradition, whatever your political party, we always share more alike than we do different. And we need to understand, though, that there are huge institutions that are incentivized to tell us, teach us, show us the opposite is true. And that's just not right. It's one of the reasons I hate politics, actually, is you have to, there's this propensity and this momentum to create differences. I mean, the truth is, let's say Spencer Cox, John Huntsman, Jeff Burningham were standing up here. There's not that much difference between the three of us. Like we see things pretty similarly politically. So, but we have to act as if we don't. By the way, I wasn't good at that. I didn't do that. It's one of the reasons I didn't win. But anyway, sorry, that was a ramble. What else?
I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this question. I've got a couple of teenage boys, and we've talked about wisdom being the future, and they are not wise. They're anti-wise, or I mean, they're the opposite of
I think all
wise.
teenagers are like that, yeah.
As things change into the future, and I coach, or I try to coach my children into doing what's right, and give them guidance into what they should go into and what they should aspire to be. With all the changes that are coming up, what would you suggest that parents and individuals say to the next generation?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so many answers, but again, let me break down 1, 2, or 3 thoughts. Number one, we have to model what we want our children to become. So when's the last time, and this is painful for me, when's the last time I got caught looking at my device when one of my kids was trying to talk to me? We have maybe the most sanctified, or whatever, I don't know what the word is, rule that we have at our house is there are no devices at dinner. Just no devices at dinner. One of the only ways to make dad mad is to bring your phone to the dinner table. We also try to practice, we're not as good at this, and it weans as the day goes on, but we try to have a digital Sabbath, the Sabbath, where we just don't spend time with our digital devices. So my first point is to say, we've got to implement and show our kids what that looks like, number one. Number two, and this might be a little different with teenagers, but you think of our young kids who are growing up as digital natives, we need to make sure that they understand that this is a machine. Like AI isn't your Valentine. You might think it's your Valentine, but it's more like a feedback loop. Like it's a reflection. It's not real. It doesn't feel in the way humans feel. And it's really important for us to talk to our kids about how AI needs to be a bridge to human connection. It can't replace human connection. I don't know about you guys, but my AI glazes me constantly. Says I'm the smartest dude ever, most handsome. I mean, I don't know, like all the things. And that's just not reality. So when you have a frictionless relationship, especially for young people, it can be easy to go there. And let me just say, that's a dead-end road. I'm not saying that in bouts of grief or in the elderly, like there aren't pockets of the population that are very lonely and could be, helped at times. But we need to see this as a bridge back to human connection. So the last thing I'll say is that I would just be as human as you possibly can. You need to be real, vulnerable, talk about the real stuff, their real issues, and help them understand that no machine can really feel in the way that we feel. Those are some thoughts. Model the behavior that you want to see, which is always the hard answer, but it's the truth.
Jeff, first, thank you for being here. I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Cool.
I think it's
Thanks for
important.
coming.
Clint, thanks for putting this together, and Silicon Slopes is very, very valuable. And I don't see you as losing in the race to be governor. I think you added to the conversation. It's important. If you just have one person running, we don't get the conversation going as it should. And
I appreciate
you're continuing that conversation. And you were talking initially about emotions versus the cognitive side. But there's cognitive intelligence and there's emotional intelligence. Emotions can inform a decision well, but sometimes they can get in the way, and there's a lot to learn there. But I really find sometimes we see things as problems. AI isn't a problem, but I see it as exciting, but it's a challenge. When fire may be first discovered, it could do certain things, or water, it's not good or bad. Water can do damage. It's amazing. We can't live without it. Same thing with fire. If we learn how to use AI like fire or water, I think there's a lot of amazing things that are going to happen because of it, and I'm excited for that. But as long as we keep that balance, and we learned that with social media, that it was exciting, but we found out that it destroyed a lot of human connection. We need to come back together, like right here. We're having human connection right now, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Let me share a couple thoughts. Yeah, when Spencer was inaugurated down at Tuacahn, were you there, Clint? So he did it at Tuacahn because, it was the pandemic, so outside. And my wife, Sally, and I start driving into Tuacahn. He asked us to come, so we went. And about a mile from Tuacahn, there was protesters on every side of the road. And I said, Sal, do you still feel like we lost? And she was like, no way, we won. and I was with Spencer a month or two after that, actually in my class, and I was kind of dressed like this, but in Jordans. He was in his suit. And I'm like, I think I'm the real winner here. You lost. So yeah, there is truth in that. The second thing I'll just say real quickly is absolutely, AI is a tool. Humans have always created tools. And the point of tools, though, was to make our lives easier or better. And we need to make sure that AI is focused on that. Another challenge with AI is this agentic quality or nature that it seems to want to exhibit sometimes, meaning an agent unto itself. So the point is, this is a different type of tool potentially, but I believe that AI will and can be positive for humanity. The last book written by a human is The Bull Case for AI, by the way. It is the how we can ensure that we flourish through AI, but it's not going to be easy, and we see that with our first little experiment with social media. Like, has that brought us closer together? Is it really social media? So anyways, we need to be wise and careful. Other comments, thoughts? Yeah.
I've got a few thoughts that I want to touch on. One that's very important that you guys discussed was development as individuals and human beings. That, I believe, is the purpose of our existence and our journey here and having this life experience. Some of the challenges that AI may bring is the individuals that are not extroverts but are introverts because of whatever factors there are that cause people to not want to have that human connection, which is, could be bullying or bad experiences with other individuals. As AI can be used several different, like for me as a business owner, it's been helping me as far as taking a little bit of a load off my shoulders as I learn how to do more with AI. So therefore causing a little bit of education for me, but at the same time, I can see it to where it's working on the ladder with people who just don't really want to deal with people because of people can be cruel. And so therefore they're looking for that replacement with AI. And with you entering in public service, I'm sure you have to become aware of a lot of the issues that are happening, not with just society. You've traveled all over the world. You've seen, a lot of different countries, and I'm sure I've seen a lot of different perspectives. Is there a way to focus AI on more fixing these issues than for certain people could drive them more away from fixing it?
Yes. I think so. That's what the book is trying to start the conversation around, is I think we can focus AI on ways that will help us transform and evolve, which you said is the purpose of existence, which I generally agree with. We are here to transform or evolve. We are here to become aware of ourselves, our divinity. And can AI help us with that? Yes. But I think it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of wisdom. It feels like we're a little behind. I don't know if we're going to get there. But some things are worth our very best efforts, no matter the outcome. And I think this is one of those things.
And on the opposite end of that, is it possible that it could become dangerous, like
Yes.
iRobot, where it
Yes.
sees us as, because of our emotional imbalances and everything, that it will ultimately try to fix or correct the issue, as we've seen in a lot of sci-fi movies and stuff like that?
Yes. Again, I can answer both those questions with just one word. Yes and yes. That's why I'm dedicating my life to like this work. You don't make money on a book. Like, I'm not making any money on a book. I hope everyone here will please go buy a book. It's on Audible. Go listen to the book. Once you do, pass it along. Leave a review. I'm doing this to just try to get this message out here because this is the conversation that we need to have starting now within humanity. Because could it be really good for humans, transformation and evolution? Yes. Again, could it destroy us, divide us? Yes. The time to start having these conversations is now. Not only in political halls and in boardrooms, but also around the dinner table. And this is it. I believe so wholeheartedly in this that, you know, I'm not like making money anymore. I'm not starting another company. I'm not running for political office. I'm writing books and doing things like this to try to start the conversation. And I'm asking you, like, to join me. Like, join in the conversation. Do what you can to, like, start this conversation because I think it needs to be had now. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm off base. I don't think so. I think we need to start having this conversation right now.
So where would be a good place to start to try to get in front of where things can go bad? How to manage, I guess you can say, where before they start working preventatively before things can get into a rough spot?
Yeah, two thoughts. Number one, buy the book and read it or listen to it. Every chapter ends with a prompt, kind of like it's a human prompt. So we have several people on social media right now going through the prompts day by day and putting their answers into social media based on the prompts of the book. So honestly, start that. That's a good place to start. Then whatever part resonates with you, you can go from there. The second thing I'd say, and again, this might be kind of contrarian, but I do mean it, and you may have different feelings about this, take it or leave it, meditate. Start meditating today, meaning people think there's a wrong way to meditate, blah, blah, blah. Just sit for 10 minutes and do nothing. Do nothing. Get into the practice of trying to do nothing because it's in that nothingness that awareness can come. When we clear out, awareness can come. So if you were asking, like, Jeff, what's a specific thing that I could plug into? I would say start today to meditate for 10 minutes every day. And again, the simplest way to do that is to just sit and do nothing. Obviously, you're trying to let go of thought. You're trying to connect with the divine. But that will come if you can just start the practice or habit to do it. That's what I'd say to start doing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think what I've gotten from it is the best preventative way to allow anything to go wrong is to actually make it flourish and focus on the positive of what it can do. So thank you.
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
Hi, thank you so much for coming, and I'm excited to read your book. I haven't read it yet. So I work at Community Action Services and Food Bank, and so I really like this conversation about how we can use AI to help address the current issues that we have in our society, and this idea that we need to get away from using what we do as where we find our value. Because on the flip side of that, there are those in our society who are kind of more vulnerable or who don't have the status of doing. And yet it's just the fact that they're human from which they derive their value. And so, but I'm really excited about this idea of, because it almost seems like you would really need to change how we define our, the way we're interacting in our society and supporting ourselves. Right now, it all comes from what we do.
Yes. Let me give you a quick tease and outline of the book. There are 4 sections in the book. The first one is disruption. Change is the only constant in our lives. AI is causing rapid change, and we need to get comfortable with that. Second section is called reflection. The cosmic mirror of AI is reflecting back to us our addiction to doing, and or how doing somehow makes us think that we are more, but we're not. That's in our being. The third section is transformation, which is mainly like personal transformation. How do I transform? How do I thrive in the digital age or in the age of highly intelligent machines? And then the fourth, and this is what I want to say, is evolution, and it's about evolving our institutions. So there's a chapter about religious reform. There's a chapter about conscious capitalism, which is kind of, I think, what you were talking about helping the most vulnerable in our population. There's a chapter about what I call a new political movement that I call the human political movement. And so I think that we in our lifetimes, I'm looking at everyone, in the next several coming decades, we are going to see radical transformation in people that will then lead to radical transformation in our institutions. And we need it, I think. If there's a divine purpose, I'm putting in quotes, for AI, you said as a person of faith, like, why is AI here and what's its divine purpose? It's to turn us back to ourselves and to help us transform and evolve and become more of what is at the heart of all this, which I think is love. Simply stated, I think love is at the heart of all of this, and that's something that we're lacking in the world right now. How do we have to rebuild ourselves and then rebuild our institutions. This is not going to be easy work. This is not going to be a quick fix. This is where evolution is happening. And, that was the purpose of the book. That's why I wrote it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It was good to be with you guys today. I like having these conversations. I brought some books. If you don't want to pay $17 on Amazon for the book, come grab one. I'm happy to sign it. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you have, unless, Clint, there's anything else you want to do.
No, yeah. So you said a lot of profound things here. Something that I'll be thinking about throughout the weekend is we're not human doings, we're human beings. I thought that was awesome. So come up and talk to him. Continue this conversation. Stay as long as you want. Everybody give it up for Jeff Burningham.
Thanks, Clint.